Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome to Raising Excellence, the most important 90 or so minutes of your day. I'm Michael, the MC and Opportunity Ambassador for today's show. And today's show, we're talking about what are your travel essentials? We've got a few people that are traveling these days. And so why not talk about what you got to do to prepare yourself to travel? With that said, let me introduce my esteemed co-host, and the first of those is Willow, our travel consultant, our trauma consultant, and possibly a travel consultant today.
For the purposes of this episode, yes, I guess I would be the travel consultant. As you can see, this is not my original background. I am in Florida right now, where there are palm trees, which is really cool to me. I've not been around palm trees. But hi, everyone. It's good to see you guys.
And Dennis, our freedom facilitator, who's also traveling from his... Where are you traveling from?
Greetings and blessed love. I'm a space traveler. momentarily residing in Central Europe. But yeah, well, this life is a trip, isn't it? So traveling, I've been traveling quite a bit and settling for the last, 2 years, and excited what life has, up its sleeve for me, for the family, for us, for the next weeks, months and years to come. But certainly great to be here. Thank you everybody for chiming in, for spending your most valuable 90 minutes together with us and for giving us your time and your attention. Thank you.
Our fourth component is also traveling. We were thinking that she might join us to, talk about this particular issue, but unfortunately, I don't think she's going to join us. So we're just going to have to go on without her. But well wishes to Agnieszka wherever she is, somewhere in Mexico. I know at this moment. With that said, Willow, this was kind of your topic idea, so let's let you lead in on this thing.
Well, yeah, that was kind of the whole point of me suggesting this as a topic was I'm traveling. So I was like, hey, let's talk about traveling. There's lots of, aspects to it. What do you pack? What do you need? How do you maintain your regular schedule on a vacation? So I'm trying to think of what my essentials were without naming everything that I packed in my bag. Okay, actually, my number one essential items are my own pillows and my own blanket. I cannot go traveling without them. It's a comfort thing for like when I'm sleeping, wherever I am, whether it's in a car, on the floor, in a bed. It's just nice to have my own things around me. Kind of puts my mind to ease and helps me sleep.
Nice. That's a great lead in. So when it comes to traveling, certainly people have to pare down what they have to something that they can fit in a suitcase or possibly a car, depending on how they're traveling. But I don't know. Is there any particular thing that when it comes to traveling, Dennis, that sticks out as a real hazard when it comes to traveling?
A hazard? Well,
or something that you should be warned about? You would warn other people not to do?
Well, the act of traveling itself, it seems, hazardous. It seems dangerous, maybe from a point of view that you're leaving, your known surroundings behind, and you're physically removing yourself from the place, well, you might have, maybe the place of your birth, the place you've been, you grew up, the social environment, the physical environment that you're accustomed to. So leaving that seemingly safe place, it creates maybe a sense of danger. There's some fear maybe in between, but also a sense of excitement, and that kind of excitement always was stronger than the fear or the concerns or the fear like of something happening, or the concern about any hazards or so that are there. Certainly, it's if you're tapping into the unknown, if you're opening, a new window, so to say. You're going to different places, you meet different people, so there's a lot of potential for good, but then there's also potential for you, you know I don't know, tripping over a branch that you haven't known before, or just being disoriented, or having to figure out yourself. And it's if I think of my past, before I take it to a different perspective, looking at the physical traveling that Willow also used to lead us into, it's like I feel that I've been prepared from early on, by doing small trips, by being, outside a lot, and my parents seemingly making, much effort to use every bit of spare time, every weekend that we had, the holidays as well, and using, what we had available at the time to basically change our surroundings, and to, whether it's driving a half an hour or to go to a playground, or then, to drive a few hours, or to go to holidays, or if you could, scrape some money together and then make a trip for the summer holidays, and spend time with our grandparents and with other family members in other surroundings, some more closer and some more farther away, further away. And I feel that those activities in the end kind of prepared me on many levels for the larger trips, and the traveling that I did later on by myself, and then also eventually for the for the big trip that I had to, which became like a 15-year stay, to Jamaica in my case, and the ones to Brazil as well. So I feel like, looking back now, all those smaller trips, and the kind of excitement that created, it prepared me, and it prepared me also for the hazardous situations that surely are part of that as well, but they also are part of the excitement. So it's just to kind of weigh the benefits and the potential good things that can come along with the danger as well, that certainly is there. And then go within and feel what if it's calling you, if it's your call to go and to travel, or if it's something that somebody else or your surrounding feels it's too dangerous, or it's you have to do that. It's always to go back and bounce it back within yourself, and to see, is that your call, is that your trip, or should you hold back and look somewhere else, or maybe stay where you are. But it's something that a decision that you have to make within yourself, I feel. How about you, Mike? You certainly have traveled a bit.
I've definitely traveled a lot, and when in the heyday of my career, I probably averaged about 3 trips a week,
Wow.
where I'd be going to the airport on a regular basis. I used to think that give me 30 minutes and I can go anywhere. I had that kind of quick preparation mindset, where I would just like have my essentials basically, already figured out, like laptop, um, my essentials as far as work related stuff. Then, the things that I need that aren't necessarily provided by the hotel, or that kind of thing. And of course, like a phone and that kind of stuff. But it was pretty simple for me to basically put what I needed in a bag, and then jump on a plane and be on the other side of the planet and be okay. But today I live in Acapulco, and I don't want to travel anywhere. And so I've put all that stuff out of my mind. And if people come to stay, I've got a lot of visitors that come. They ask me what they should bring. I'm like, I have no idea. So this will be helpful for them, this show.
Nice one. For me, really, I was hinting earlier, like, to take it to a different level, because right after Willow suggested, this topic for today, my thoughts actually went to not the physical traveling and, the airplane or the train or, the bus, and to going to somewhere else. But I I right away really I associated the traveling with the larger trip that we all are on. That you know traveling through life, traveling to these times and to this reality, and so I can see that as a I can see the trip that we're on as a metaphor really for you know the physical trip to here and to there, and especially right now in our times, where um, seemingly there's certain restrictions upon removing yourself from the place you might be stuck in, to a more or less a degree, and there have been in the last weeks and months certainly some some difficulties, and it's only time will tell, like if we ever will go back to something that we knew from the past years and decades, or if the new normal, the new reality will establish itself for for times to come, and that certainly also encourages me even more so to again to go within and to reflect about the essentials of this life trip, of traveling through this life. What are the essentials for that? What do I need to put in my suitcase right there? Is there actually any suitcase? Is there are the things that are really essential? Are those things that I have to add on, and buy like at the airport, or buy like in a supermarket before my trip, or are those actually things that I have been equipped with already, and that I might not even have noted or taken notice of so far? Are those things, those essential things, are those things that have been stuck like under and forgotten in some kind of corner, or layers and layers of other things that that are supposedly important and essential, but that truly are not, and they're really just superficial. Are they covering up what is really essential for my trip? And is maybe to finish, is maybe the aim of that trip that I am on right now for me to actually discover and uncover and unveil those essential things that are there and that have been there always, but that I might have forgotten, or I might not have been aware of. So those were some of the thoughts that came to my mind. If you're on a trip right now through this life, what are the essentials for us?
Willow, in regard to your trip, you had a plan and stuff like that. So, but like, what are some of the things that kind of come to mind is like some of the kind of things that you should know, be observant of? Traveling right now is a bit hazardous I think in everybody's book because of all the different restrictions and possible hindrances that come about. But what were your thoughts when you first realized you were going to be taking a trip?
Um, when I first knew I was going to be taking a trip, I did think of all like the restrictions and everything. Luckily, I work with a family who is pretty accommodating for me, so they actually ended up buying me some face shields so that I can go into like restaurants or places like that. As that's to be honest the extent of the restrictions that I've seen. We happened to pick a place that was pretty private, so we had private access to the beach, which kind of keeps us away from all of that, having to deal with it, to be honest, and having to worry and stress about it. Um, I lost track of where I was going. Can you ask the question one more time?
Well, when you were planning a trip, or when you realized you were going to take a trip, what were some of the things that that came to mind as far as considerations?
To be honest, a lot of the things that I took into consideration had nothing to do with the restrictions or anything that's going on in the outside world right now. It was more of like, I need to shop for food so that my husband can make his own meals because he doesn't know how to cook the things that I cook. He cooks for himself, and he's a pretty good cook, and so I left a lot of meat to grill, and I picked things for him. Um, let's see. Also, our vacation was going to be about 2 weeks long, so I knew that I wasn't going to be able to push myself to go and do something every single day and be gone, like, out of the house all the time. So I brought a pretty thick, long book. Um, I also planned to keep my schedule as close to it as I can. This is why I'm at the podcast today. Any other vacation, I would have just been like, yeah, sorry guys, I'll see you in a week. But going for 2 weeks, I had to really consider, like, that would throw off my natural schedule, what I'm used to, and that doesn't help my narcolepsy. It doesn't help. A routine is a very important thing when you're a trauma survivor. It's very important to keep your routine as regular as possible. So I ended up bringing things to entertain myself. I brought my client notebook so I can talk to clients. And I also brought my yoga mat so that I can continue exercising, even though I have a beach literally like 20 feet right over there. Well, probably not 20 feet, maybe more than 20 feet, but we're on the beach. I still brought something to kind of keep my regular exercising indoors, keep all that kind of regular, because I don't think people realize how easy it is to get out of schedule, out of your routine and off your schedule, and how much that kind of disrupts your going back to regular life. Yeah.
Alrighty. Yeah, that was definitely something that I struggled with when it came to constantly traveling, trying to maintain what are the daily things and obligations that go on when you're traveling a lot. Those things just do lose the you can't focus on all those things, and in a lot of cases because of restrictions with phones and computers and internet and all that kind of stuff, trying to figure out how that all works, where you're at, that can always be an issue that comes into play that can stir up a lot of problems. So when you're traveling and trying to maintain a schedule, that's obviously I suppose there's some considerations there. What do you think about that, Dennis? Is that something you had to deal with?
Well, for me, really, before like physical trips and traveling, it was mostly my main consideration was for the people I was gonna leave behind. So it was always like like a joyful and a crying eye, because like, yeah, truly, like whenever I left behind people that I dearly loved, and but I also was going to meet people whom I looked very much forward to reunite with, or to see, or to get to know, if I wouldn't have met them yet. So so what so one of the essential things that took my awareness to another level every time before I went on a trip and before I did the physical traveling, was the fact that I was really aware of the fact that I might not see those people again. I might never see them again. What if something happened to me, something happened to them before I come back? So that always was something that resonated deep within me, like that appreciation, and it reminded me of the fact that, wow, like I should live life every moment like that. Even if I go outside and, I don't know, take out the garbage, but I should look at those around me, especially my family, my loved ones, as if that is the last moment, the last day, the last hour. Like I see them. If that was the last moment right now, like how would I treat them? How would I, would I worry about what was said, yesterday, or the argument or whatever it is, or would I just be able to deeply appreciate, their presence in my life? And that's like one of the things that traveling highlighted as well, because obviously, you talked about hazards and there's risks and things, can happen always, but it seems more likely, or it seems more in the forefront of our or my mind, when traveling, that things, can go wrong as well. And then, yeah, so it brought me into that awareness of, wow, of how precious, this present moment is, how grateful I am for being with the people around me. It was really related to people. And at the same time, I also looked forward to, maybe reuniting with my family or with friends, or with somebody who was waiting on the other end of the trip, so to say, or of the adventure, of the potential that is there for discover, for finding out, and whatever the reason for the trip was. It was always mostly around people. So the excitement was around meeting new people, or reuniting with people that I have been missing a lot.
That just brought me back to the day we left. My husband and I were talking about our experiences with having to be separated from each other. And after the military, that was one of the things that we got brought up, where it's like, this is it's not as bad as that. At least when we're waiting to like one of us to leave, it's not waiting for them to leave to be deployed or sent to training for months at a time or do something dangerous or that's going to deteriorate the soul. I get to go on vacation and leave for a period of time, but that is something that we also we've had a lot of experience with. So it was kind of one of those moments where we're like, really gonna miss you. This sucks, but also like it'll be okay. Just kind of like coming to terms with our own feelings about all the times we've had to leave, and um, the possibility that anytime you leave, you there's possibility, no matter how small, that you may not come back. And yeah, I'm just really glad that you brought that up, because I hadn't even thought of that being as an essential. It's so commonplace for us to just say our goodbyes and talk about these things that it doesn't register as an essential part of traveling.
Yeah, I because I tend to think of the holistic perspective of things. So it's really like, what are the essentials for my physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual well-being? Are those, and that's a whole list right here. So that's the physical stuff that goes into the suitcase for the, for like you said, Mike, for being able to work, for like then for a book, or the blankets, as Willow said. Those are all aspects as well. But beyond that, I figured out that, well, even if I don't even have a suitcase or a bag, like, what's even more essential than those things? Okay, like, what's keeping my me on an emotional level? What is that? Okay, what kind of thoughts, like, what kind of techniques do I have to to center myself, to um y- to just balance and harmonize myself on that level. And the same for the intellectual, even for the spiritual one. Okay, what kind of connection, what kind of space do I want to be able to tap into or to remain in continuously? And oh, maybe everything else is not that important, because if I'm right there, and if I manage to manage myself in that way, then it actually seems that I can just trust it, then that everything else will flow, and will, things will appear as I need them. And yeah, like on my trips, oftentimes I encountered situations that I could never have planned for. I couldn't have brought anything, with me physically in order to manage that. But things, just appeared and manifested themselves at the right time, at the right place, and I was able, to get through and to move on. And my mind could have never planned for that, but what I could have, or what I feel I did before, or what was done to me or through me, is that life, through the experiences that I lived through before, starting with what I initially said about, I can now even see like how my early childhood experience with my parents going different places so prepared me for that. And so that it seems that each moment in life, each experience, each trip, each traveling experience, kind of built upon the previous ones, and gave me some extra hints and some extra, awareness or appreciation for things that I can now carry with me. And if I pull myself together, and if I keep reminding me of those true essentials, then the other essentials that I can put in a suitcase, they're still important, and I care for them too, and sometimes even too often, because I spend way too long in order to pack everything just the right way, and then I end up not sleeping the day or the night before. And so those are just some stuff on the physical level. But what's truly even superseding that is the space I find myself in, and tapping into that space, which is way beyond the stuff that can go in the suitcase. That is really my travel essential, so to speak, because that goes with me everywhere I go, and that's with me at all times. And unless I let myself strain, it's always with me anyway.
Well said. Yeah, I'll just chime in on that and just say, I think I think that goes into why I did those death shows, because I think that's really what life is about, is really the things that are most important, and certainly keeping those things as close to the front of your mind as possible. I think the better off you are when it comes to enjoying the life that you have. And certainly, I think travel is one of those things where you get to explore what is the geography of the world, and to some degree, that can be one in which you can find new things that are important to you, and and really maybe even reiterate the things that are important that you left behind. And I think that's that saying, the absence makes the heart grow fonder. Definitely think that's true.
I see some comments here as well. Um, Tony says, "Hi everyone, awesome to be able to hear again." Thank you for that, Tony. Great to have you here. Don is saying that Willow got a big background upgrade.
Oh, you should have seen the original spot that I wanted to sit in, but it kept raining. Because that was you might see it on Wednesday. Come back for Wednesday.
Oh, poor you! You can't go to the beach because a few drops fall from the sky. Oh.
I know. I'll
And
still go though.
and then Tony's also saying that he had his bags packed since last January until the current circumstances hit, and so he's set to go, and he's packed for when a smooth ride is possible again. And he says he packed some food, different medical supplies, clothes, and of course plenty of toilet paper. You can't do without that nowadays.
Yeah, I think. Oh, go ahead. Is there more?
And Shambhavi as well. She sent a big heart. Thank you, Shambhavi. Thank you,
Oh,
everybody.
lovely. Yeah, thank you for all the comments. Yeah, I think you were saying some of the essentials, and I think probably some of the things that you mentioned, like the place that you're going, the people that you're going to meet. I think in a lot of cases, like a lot of the tourist travelers and stuff like that, they they go without really kind of creating the relationships that can make a trip and traveling so much more fun. And certainly, that's kind of one of the things that I guess I do. For people that come and visit me here in Acapulco, I try and kind of create that atmosphere in which it is like a family atmosphere where in a lot of cases these are people that have traveled here before and we haven't seen each other for a few years, and so kind of reestablishing the that relationship, and potentially like seeing what are the things that we want to do during that period of time, having a plan for uh, you know getting the things done that you want to get done while you're traveling with the people that you're visiting. That's certainly something that I think is probably an essential piece of having a good trip.
Yeah.
Actually, I had that is true, but I had the kind of opposite experience where because I'm also working, um, I don't get that part of it. So I had to mentally prepare myself to be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go sit on the beach by myself and not go see friends and not go see people. Like, so I had to do the opposite, where it was like part of my essential, like getting my mind together was I'm working.
Yeah, that's a mindset. You got to have your mindset.
But it makes the whole experience, if you know what to expect, or you know that you can't possibly know what to expect, like you're in the mindset to kind of just deal with it and go with the flow. So that actually helped me, and it's made the whole trip very enjoyable because I know what I'm doing. I know what's expected, and then I can make the most out of what is actually happening instead of wanting something different or regretting that I didn't get to do this. Like I just know what it is, so I'm prepared to handle it.
That's one of the challenges, right? Like traveling, because you have to let go of that illusion, really, of having control, of being of being in control of the space of your, your little room, your four walls, your apartment, whatever it is, where you know everything, where you know all, all the sounds, where you know where stuff is. You have your, neighbors, your support group, everybody's there, and you might have been there for years, and then you have to let go of all of that, and you actually have to realize that, oh wow, like I'm sitting in this train or in the car or in the airplane, and I don't know anybody right here, and it's like, wow, like, it's for, I can see how that is a challenge, especially for people who would not have been, accustomed to that, or done that before. And then, so it challenges you also to maybe even look at the place where you're coming from, at your starting point, and to realize, well, what do I truly control? Is that really true, that I know what's going to happen and what is where? Or is that just, my mind that got accustomed to things? But if you really look at it, things can happen just like that wherever you are. And the fact that you now might find yourself, surrounded by people that you don't truly know, that it forces you, it challenges you to look at things, with fresh eyes. And that I feel has the potential of you discovering potential and opportunities that are there, that always have been there, but maybe you didn't see them, inside your house, inside your backyard, because you just got too accustomed of looking at the same thing all over again. So you were not able to, to see it with new eyes, with fresh eyes every day, and to appreciate what is there. And therefore you might not have seen the opportunity that is hidden, right, at your back door or right at your front yard, And so by physically removing yourself from that environment that you have become accustomed to, it challenges you to, like your heart rate is a little up, you maybe you're a little, excited, or you're fearful of what is happening, what is there, where can I go? I don't speak the language, I don't know the people, what kind of customs are there. So you become like a sponge, you have to soak up everything new that is there in order to get around. You have to learn a few words, you have to know the customs of the place, how do I talk to these people, like, and so there's I feel there's more openness. You necessarily have to be open in order to survive, to make it through, in order to know where the toilet is, or in order to know, how to tell somebody who doesn't speak your language, how to fill your belly. so I feel that is a potential for growth right there, and for adventure, of course.
What about and being that you're a trauma consultant, we might as well address this particular thing. There's a lot of things that, when it comes to traveling, could be traumatic. What do you think about prepping yourself for potentially traumatic incidences that might come along?
Well, one, you have to have a good sense of yourself. You have to know what you could perceive as traumatic. I experience this anytime I sleep in a new place. There is the potential that my narcolepsy will act up, and I will wake up. I will not know where I am. I will not recognize anything, and then I can get sleep paralysis. I can have hallucinations. So sleeping in a new place is actually very difficult for me. We're not even going to go into the numerous times I've woken my husband up when we first started dating, because I was not aware of where I was. It's always in a new place. So I actually have to do this. Anytime I sleep in a new place, I have to spend a couple moments before I go to sleep and look around the room and say, that is the door. And the doorknob is about there, and there's the closet, and it folds both ways, and there's stuff hanging in there. So if it gets left open, I know that there's stuff hanging in there. And I just go through every little thing in the room, and I can't memorize it, but I put it to memory as much as possible, so that I'm more prepared. If I do wake up in the middle of the night and I think that there's a strange person standing in my closet, once I get past the panic and the fear, I can say, I left the closet door open, and I hung my hoodie or my robe or something in that closet. That's probably what I'm seeing. And then I can get up and investigate. And it gives me a little room in between waking up and complete panic to decide what I have to do. And a lot of times I have to prepare for that. This is part of the reason, it's one of the reasons I wanted to keep my regular schedule, because I also know that I am more prone to having my flashbacks, dysregulation, and any kind of sleep issues when I am out of a sleep schedule, I'm out of a regular schedule, and I'm not doing the same things every day that I'm used to be doing. So that was one of the reasons that I prepared to, this wasn't just going to be a vacation. I'm also at work, but I also need to take time to do my other obligations, like, I have a day set aside to go through bills, even though I'm not home. I'd still do the bills, and I still meet with my clients. I still have my coffee time chat with, my girls, and I have my support groups and the podcast. All of that was in preparation to kind of keep me comfortable enough that I'm not thrown into a dysregulated state that I can't get out of. And as for like trauma that just occurs, it's the same thing as if you're planning to walk down the street in your own hometown. What would you do to prepare for a traumatic event happening in your hometown? You have your list of people to call. You have your support system. I often carry things like such as a firearm. Other people like dogs, and I also learned jiu-jitsu to kind of prepare me for those day-to-day things. And that's things that you can take with you mentally or physically that will help prepare you for a traumatic event. The number one tip I can say is just do your best to keep calm.
I would also add prepare to be unprepared.
Yes.
So, prepare for the fact that something is going to happen that you didn't think of, and, so just be open for that as well, and be able to react, and to have a plan, but also, be on some, in a corner of your mind, like be aware that the plan might not work and that everything might just come totally different, and, and trust that you're still going to be all right and find a way. But I agree too that, to prepare, to plan ahead, on all levels again is essential in itself, so even if you project out, by your mind, like I remember, like I was imagining when I went to a place that I didn't know before, then it's like I imagine how it would be, and it would be tainted, by things that I would have experienced and seen before. And sometimes, many of the things, of the experiences that I had before would be very helpful in preparing myself and mentally preparing for what lies ahead, what kind of procedures, what I would find. But oftentimes it was also totally different. So that's why I also, meant how important it is to prepare, to not be prepared, and to not assume things just because, even if you go back to the same place that you would have seen before, don't assume that everything will be the same and you will have the same experience like you had, the last time, just because it's the same place. And it seems that for me, like, some down to earth things that I would look for when I, would enter new communities or go to a new place or discover like a new country. I would look for things on a physical level. I would look for the time that I would enter a place, so I would usually, if possible, choose the early morning, discover new places, new cities, like in the early morning, because you have a certain set of people that are up and around in the early morning or before midday, and then you have a different set of people that are around in the afternoon, coming back from work, coming from school. And then, if you go out to discover places late night, that might not be the best time of the day to do that. And then what was essential for me really was also to connect with people. And that really goes way beyond what even the best travel guide or travel book can tell you, because they also tainted by their experience and by the agenda that they have and by who they are promoting and who is paying them, or by their own trip that they had, which they based their experience upon, which is also very interesting. But it's also, I would carefully read as much as I could before, look at the maps, and maybe now we have the internet, you can look at comments and at other people's experiences, and you take that, but you take it with a sort of grain, because that's their experience as well. And then I would put my own experience on top of that, and then I would just go there and then talk to people and talk to the guy, that sweeps the road, and talk to the bartender, and to the lady that sells, some fruits in the street corner, and just talk to people and connect with them. And then also check back, Okay, does it make sense what they say, or on an emotional level, like, are they friendly, are they open, where are they, is that a general vibe, or is that just, the personality of the one I'm talking to right now, and just also, continuously kind of scan, um, physically, okay, I'm prepared, I brought this, I brought that, I have some food, I have some medication in case of this, um, I have something to defend myself if need be. And then on an emotional level, okay, like what kind of emotion can I put out in order to make it as easy as possible to connect to people, what kind of, how do I want to show and give myself, what kind of body language do I want, to mimic, and how do I make it easy for people to connect to me in a positive way. On the intellectual level, of course, the reading, the preparing, then have a schedule, have a plan. What do I want to achieve? Where do I want to go? How much time do I give myself? And and then above all is really like on a spiritual level to just be centered and be there, and have all of the other levels in place, but know that there's something even beyond all of that that is guiding, and just continuously scanning on that level as well. Okay, what do is my God telling me to go left or to go right? Should I really hook up with this guy, and this one is offering me that? Should I go for that or not? And just continuously kind of be open on all levels, and receive the feedback and the messages that are really there all the time. But oftentimes, we're so busy and get stuck with small things that we overlook the greater hints or signs that life seems to be giving us all the time.
It also seems like, when it comes to new places, there are that group of people that seem to look for the new faces and take advantage of them. What do you do to prepare yourself for that kind of situations? Because a lot of times people overcharge you, and because you've got a lot of things going on at the same time, you may not notice that kind of stuff. Or maybe there's a pickpocket or something that is looking for somebody that's occupied with other things on their mind, and maybe they're a little disorientated. What
Yeah.
what kind of advice would you give in that regard?
Well, for the pickpocket, like I would, like those are some, I would say like even basics, like you don't have everything, all your valuables. You don't show them first of all. You don't run around with it, with big bling bling, with big gold and diamonds. If that's not a must for you, and just to be aware of okay, that's what's happening. I don't know the situation, I don't know what kind of people are there. So I'm traveling, so obviously like I'm a easier victim, for certain criminals. So make yourself. I don't say you have to be like all gray and like dress up like a shadow, but like if you run around with your, I don't know, pink top and like standing out, then of course you will be seen as well. So there's certain way of dressing yourself, there's certain way of hiding the valuables you may have or not even wearing them, to make you unattractive for, let's say, pickpockets or people that are looking out for a victim. Then there's a body language as well. There's the way your lifestyle really, like if you're active, if let's say you're working out, you're training, and it doesn't even have to be martial arts, but you generally will have a different posture, and a different vibe, if I can say that, than somebody, who might, consciously or subconsciously walk around like, looking like a victim 3 miles against the wind. And so these are like lifestyle related things really. Then you would have 1, 2, 3 wallets, and on top of that you still I don't know, you have something in your shoe, or you have a pocket like strapped under your armpit or at your ankle, then so you make sure you don't have too much and not too little, depending on the place. Those are things you can check out before too. Okay, like if the wallet that you're giving, or if the money or whatever you're giving, if somebody force you to do so, if it's too much, what is too much in that specific environment, then they might think you have more, and it might be valuable for them, to go even further, to take you somewhere else to get the more. If it's too little, they might be upset, and they might do something because they're upset, because they're risking their life to get something, and they just get 2 cents. And so those are things that I guess you can gauge, but then also it's connecting to people and asking them, oh, is it safe to go there now? Like, how's the situation right there? Or would you recommend to go over this and over that? And then just don't trust just one somebody, but do 3, 4, 5 persons, and again feedback. Are they sincere? Are they honest? And then look around, and then it's very specific also to to the environment. Like, let's say you like in downtown Kingston, and it's night, and you're a female, and you're gonna take a route taxi. So you have to know, okay, what identifies a route. Those are like taxis that run bus routes. So you have to know, okay, like what's going on with the route taxis. Okay, they have to have a red plate. If it's a male driver and you have like two other males in the back seat, and one of them comes out and they ask you to sit in the middle, and you in a car, you don't know anybody, and it might not have the red plate, and it might not have even an ID or anything. You might not want to step into that car. So it's like, you have to do some research first, and that's you do is like, maybe there's another female, another guy waiting at the bus stop. It's like, okay, is this a route taxi, or are you going too? Is there other females, for example? So those are different factors that can reduce the risk that you have. Or inform yourself first. Okay, how can I get from A to B, and what is the safest way, and who do I ask, and where do I wait, and whom do I link up for? And a big one is also to have to not walk alone, which sometimes might be difficult if you're traveling on your own, but you can find company, like even for short trips, or you can pretend to have company, if you're not feeling safe in the park, or, walking down the dark alley, and, you find a couple, you find somebody walking a dog, it's like, oh, can I walk with you over, this side? And both, maybe you find a new friend, maybe you find somebody who tells you, a great location to check out the day after, or you find a new place to stay, so it's really, it's communicating and having your radar on, like, full 100, and checking and scanning everything everywhere all the time. And then that's what's exciting, because you'll be able to raise that awareness, and you'll see signs, and you'll find people that otherwise you might have overlooked.
And I was going to say, when you were talking about like getting into cars and knowing what to look for and all that stuff, getting to know the locals can also keep. Ooh, sorry, lightning. Having like an inside opinion on, or not opinion, advice on like the culture and everything that's going on can help you make friends as well. Maybe not friends, but help you get around a little bit easier. One of the things I couldn't really understand why, when I lived in Korea, the taxi drivers didn't like me very much. And I thought I was being polite because I didn't want to be chauffeured around. So I would jump into the front seat of the taxi and sit and talk with them. And then we'd, go places. But I had a friend actually tell me that it's very not appropriate to. Sorry, I'm trying to shut the window because it's starting to rain now. It's not appropriate for a young female to sit in the front seat of the taxi. So it wasn't until I had a friend tell me that I started getting in the backseat of the taxi, and as soon as I started getting in the backseat of the taxi drivers seemed to be a lot more accommodating and like wanted to talk to me and have a conversation and all that. But they were very avoidant of me when I got into the front seat, which now in hindsight makes sense. So having an outside or an insider view of what the culture is and how things work can help you not step on toes.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a couple travel books out there that I think do a fairly decent job of giving you a little bit of an insight of what are the local customs and stuff like that. And I can't recall which one is which. I think Foodours was one of the ones that used to kind of give you a description of, some of the like local customs and stuff like that. So, like when you're on the plane ride to a new location, and you have no idea of what you might possibly, like if you've never been there before, certainly reading something like that gives you a little bit of an idea of like what are the local customs and stuff could help you out a great deal. Certainly one of the things that Dennis mentioned, not being by yourself is certainly something that you should consider. And so, when you're traveling with other people, or when you're traveling to like a hotel or something like that, just kind of being friendly to some of the people that are there can kind of give you that circumstance where maybe you can, like for the first day or two, just have dinner with one of those people that you met like on the trip to the hotel or something along those lines. Could be a way to kind of create a circumstance where you don't have to be alone or you don't put yourself in a place where you are alone just because uh, you don't know anybody.
And that's the exciting thing, really, that or one of the excitements of traveling is, your the privilege, because not everybody has the privilege to travel or has the privilege to travel for, for reasons of leisure or even like of work, so to say. Um, so it's it's an opportunity of seeing and of connecting with people, that live differently, that have other traditions, that speak different languages, and that were, born and raised in a different way. So the opportunity that I see there is to, while you identify and you study or you look at or you enjoy the cultural um, differences that you're exposed to at the same time, to cut through and see what remains the same. And one of the things that really, came true as one of the essential findings of my, of me traveling and um, being able to see different cultures and meeting many peoples all over the place, is that, while, let's say, the skin color and the food and the tradition, the way people talk, that may all change, but essentially the human nature doesn't. Wherever I go, I would find, warm, loving people, that would share. It seems the last piece of bread with somebody they just met, and on the other side, you also find some people who want to take, advantage of others and do bad things, to say so. And it's an opportunity to find unity in diversity, so to say, and to find others who also can see through that. You always find the ones that are, that see you on a superficial level and see you as, you know hustlers who want to go just for your money, or who see you like as an easy victim. But then there's people who look deeper than that, and I feel that is an excitement for me to find those, and then to overcome those, those seemingly those differences, which are not really there, because even I've seen it so many times, not even speaking the same language and having no clue and no idea about the cultural background of the other one, but there's a possibility of connecting on a level that is way even beyond language, and of being in harmony, of being all right with somebody and being in peace, and that's really beautiful. That's nice. And even in our world today, where wherever I travel right now, like if I look here in Germany or even in Europe, it seems more and more that places, they lose that diversity in will I say, in the local tradition and expression of their traditions, and everything, with, I guess, with globalization as well. Wherever you go, you find the same stores, you find the same stuff, and it's like it's getting more. Uh, you know the diversity is, you can choose between 2 or 3 or 4 snacks, but they're always the same way. From Moscow to Paris to Berlin to Toronto, whatever. You
Yeah.
find the same stores, the same clothes, the same stuff, and it looks all colorful and it looks like it's something different, but the ingredients are the same all over the world. And so that's something that's a trend, I guess, or development that I noted traveling. And so whenever I see
Yeah.
like a true human expression, somebody who is not trying to blend in and be equal in his behavior, in his way of talking, in his way of dressing and eating, then that's something that really fulfills me. And I say, wow, oftentimes it's like elders, or people from more like rural communities and not the big urban centers, and where still can find those, original native expressions. And that's something beautiful, which I like to, expose myself to, and which I like to develop within myself as well, and carry, I don't know if it's pride, or like I carry joy in finding back, or rediscovering my own way of being and of expressing that, through how I speak and how I give myself, and yeah.
Well, I would just say from my own experience traveling, and of course this was in the '90s and the 2000s primarily, but of course the technology has changed in those days, or changed since those days. But I used to strike up conversations with whoever I was sitting next to, and in many cases, we would end up meeting at some point, like if that was their hometown, and they said, "Oh yeah, there's a great place to eat. You should go to dinner, for this." And I'd say, "Well, I actually have an expense account. I can pay for your dinner. Why don't I treat you to, take me out to this particular place or something like that?" And that would be a great initiation into like a new place that I'd never been, is like getting somebody that actually lives there to kind of give me that opportunity to take them out for dinner or something like that. Unfortunately, that was back in those days. Nowadays, it's really difficult to talk to somebody that's sitting next to you. A lot of times they've got earphones in their thing, or they're watching their phone or doing that kind of thing. There's a lot less interaction, and I wonder, like, what's your point of view on that particular thing when it comes to just human interaction has been kind of definitely skewed towards isolating ourselves more. And, obviously traveling is just one of those examples. But what do you think about like kind of breaking some of those stereotypes and connecting with other people around you?
Well, it almost seems like we have been prepared for the current situation, by being able, to be
Of
isolated,
course.
even before, we're isolated, within a bunch of people sitting in a train wagon or whatever. Instead of talking to each other, we're like, we're gazing away on our various interfaces. But I think, yeah, like I think that is truly, maybe, that is one of the adventures these days, and we don't have to travel far to find people who are, in a way gone, or not present, so to say. They're not present because they're somewhere in the past or somewhere with somebody else on the other side, of the town or even further. And to recognize that, and to bring awareness to that circumstance without causing, how would I say, friction, or without causing argument, or bad vibes, so to say, that is certainly an art. And yeah, so I'm certainly also always excited to hear about strategies and ways of waking people out of their digital slumber, so to say, and creating some spontaneity, and some real life in the moment experiences. Um, what about you, Willow? Do you have any experience with cutting through to people who are seemingly, being
Well,
distracted or gone on on the
kind
digital side
of,
of things?
kind of, but I also try not to, especially with like just random people that I am not around, that I'm probably not going to see more than maybe a handful of times. I try not to be too invasive because people don't take kindly to strangers breaking them out of their habit. Like that's not a stranger's place to do. And in a lot of cases, it comes off, they get very angry or upset about it, or, they just don't respond well. So what I've done is, like, I've noticed numerous people, almost everyone that I saw on the beach that wasn't walking with someone else would have their headphones in. And so I just, let it. I'm also walking here. I might walk next to you. I might be walking towards you. But if I can see your face, I smile or I wave. And I'm like, hi, how are you? Having a good evening. I'm glad you're having a good day. Me too. I just do the same thing. And then the people that I run into on a regular basis, I do that enough times that they kind of develop a trust where it's like, oh, this person will let me do my thing without impeding me. So maybe they're not all that bad. Maybe I could take a little time and have a 5-minute conversation with them. I do this with grocery store clerks and just anyone that I happen to see. I'll do it when I run into someone repeatedly in the store. I will, at first, like the first couple times, I just smile and I'm like, oh, sorry, and I move out of the way. And then about the third time we run into each other, I'm like, man, fancy meeting you here. Kind of like get into that. I earn their trust a little bit where it's like, I know that you're not here to talk to a random stranger. I know you don't want your mind blown. I know that you don't want a huge info dump. Like, it's just not in your daily plan. So I'm not planning to do that. But you keep running into me enough times. you're going to get to see a little bit of what I'm about. And I'm going to, get my foot in the door just a little bit more and a little bit more. And that's the best way that I've ever found to like break people out of their zombie state, where it's just like look at the phone all the time, have the headphones in, don't make eye contact with other people.
A smile
That's
is
been the
definitely
most
a great
effective.
one.
Yeah.
I love that the smile, as an icebreaker is definitely great. But just in current situations when the majority of people seemingly runs around with, we don't even, it's not even only earphones, but it's earphones, it's an interface like a cell phone, and then like most of the face is also being covered. So it seems that it's being even made more a challenge than even before, to cut through, because a smile alone won't work. And then even if you start talking, then half of what you say might not even be heard because it's just a mumbling like under the mask. So it's definitely challenging times for people who try to break the ice and to connect with somebody, just like that on the road or in the store.
I've had interesting experiences with some people who are wearing masks. Sometimes they'll be walking towards me and they have kind of a look on their face because I'm not wearing one. And if I'm feeling particularly good that day, I will ignore that scowl on their face and I'll just smile at them and be like, "Hi, how are you doing?" Like it didn't even faze me. And usually what the response I get is I can tell that they're smiling back. They're just like, "Oh, this person isn't dangerous. They're not a threat. They're smiling at me." They mean, and hopefully that kind of brings a little bit of light to their day if they are struggling, because I know that there's a lot of struggles with the current situation right now. That's kind of my main goal is I try to bring a little bit of light to your life, and that way when you are dealing with something that has a lot of darkness, maybe you'll go back and find that light that you remembered.
Yeah, I feel one of the things is to, we had that a few weeks ago. We were talking about joy, and joy being something, that should really be the driver of who we are and what we do, right? And if we ourselves, ensure that we are in sync with what brings us true joy in our life, then that is certainly something, that will show on our faces, it will sound, it will vibrate with the sound of our voice, and it will show in how we do things and what we do as well. And maybe that is one of the greatest ways of actually communicating to others that, oh, it is possible even in challenging times, to be joyful and to be happy, to be in a good mood. And maybe that is one, a great icebreaker in itself, just being in balance and being in harmony with your life purpose and with your inner joy, and then see how that resonates with other people, because certainly, people that are affected by that in one way or the other will encounter you as well on your daily journey.
All right, we've got like 10 minutes to go until the end of the show. I want to do like a speed round of some of the stuff that I think might be some of the things to consider. So let's talk about electric outlets. When you go to certain countries, the electric is not always the same. What do?
You find a converter.
Okay, so put a converter in your bag if you're going to a strange electricity place. Do you check that out before you do that?
So I've experienced this firsthand. I did not realize that South Korea had different outlets, like completely different outlets. It's not even, there were some in the house where you could plug in your stuff. Don't do it. Like, you either need an inverter or an adapter. I have a Korean lamp that I have to have an adapter, and also a printer. Our old printer was from Korea, so it has an adapter on it that you can plug it in here. You probably won't realize it until you're there, and then you need to start asking people, how do I plug in my stuff? Do you have a converter? Do you have an inverter? Do you have, start asking people, because that's how I learned, was start asking, be like, so how do you plug your phone into the wall? And they're like, you don't plug your phone into the wall. You plug it into an inverter. Otherwise, your phone will turn into a robot and start sparking, and like it looks like a transformer just going all crazy.
What about if your electricity, like the phone dies? Do you want to have like a book? Is there some things that like
You're buried.
like I always think a book is a great thing to take because like if all else fails, like practically everything except for like the sun goes down and there's no electricity anywhere, you can sit and read a book and like if you miss your plane or all those other things that could possibly go wrong, certainly having a book can pretty much solve most of those problems and at least take you away from whatever the disaster is that you're encountering.
Yeah.
Okay,
What
I
do you
thought
think
you were
about that?
talking about like a traveler's book, like that has all of the information that you need to travel and be at certain place or information about certain places and all that. But you're just talking about having a book. Absolutely, always have something to read, some reading material. I don't go anywhere without a book. That might just be me, but it saves you a lot of frustrating time.
Yeah, I also always have at least one book with me, but then all like a notebook or something to write upon also is important, right? For your for the daily journaling, and for
There you
giving
go.
away your phone number, taking other people's address and phone number, and also so take something that you can write upon physically, even if the cell phone and all the other interfaces go down. Old school.
Along the lines of electricity, this is one that I would recommend when you're going to someplace new. It seems like electricity, and especially with all the technology and stuff like that, like having either a extension cord, because like usually the outlets are like somewhere where you can't find them or they're under the desk or something like that, and you need just like one more plug-in, and you can't do it. So like having either an extension cord with like one of those like like power strips where it's got like 3 or 4 things on it. That's definitely something to I would say is an essential for most people, modern people these days, because of the computers plugging in and the phone charger and what other electronic devices you've got. Usually you're going to run out of plugs before, uh, especially with a lot of the hotel rooms.
I feel one that is independent of any plugs and inverters or electronic stuff is the one of the essential things would be the ability to be with yourself and to be all right and to be joyful. Because even if the phone dies and the book burns and somebody thieves your your pen and your notebook, if you have that ability with you, it's one of your essentials, to just be all right with yourself and to, oh, wow, what's happening now? Okay, it seems like life is inviting me to be with myself and to be all right. Is that a possibility? That's just like, from a nutritionist point of view, that's like knowing that you are able to make it even without a bite of food through several days and even weeks. It's like, oh, okay. So that means, say, if I skip a meal or if, a few hours I can't eat or even a half a day or a day I can't eat, it's like, okay, because you have that knowledge and you have the experience that, okay, I can get through that. Oh, my belly is grumbling a little bit, but I know I can make it even 5 days or even a week or 2 weeks. So it's okay. So if you know that you are able to be with yourself, even without a book, even without any electronic interface and so on, to be okay, then maybe it's, oh, that's exciting. I can't do anything else but just sitting here or standing in this line and, or like sitting in an airplane, we're not taking off another hour. So, okay, like let's let's be with myself and be all right. Is that possible? If you have no distraction whatsoever to kind of distract you from your true self, from being with yourself, then sometimes that is the most interesting experience a trip can provide you with, to find yourself. And actually it's a it's really a joke in itself, because you had to go to the other side of the world in order to learn how to be with yourself, and you could have just stayed at home and learned it too. But you had to go through that experience to find out that.
So two of my essential things is I always try to carry a battery pack. Right now, I'm actually taking my husband's big battery pack, which means I don't have to worry about finding outlets in a lot of cases until I need to charge the battery pack, which can be left, and I don't have to, I'm not playing on it, I'm not on it at all, so I don't have to worry about needing it while it's charging. The other one is going to sound a little odd, but it's actually one of my essentials for going on walks, hiking, camping, traveling, plastic baggies. If you're ever caught in the rain and you have no like waterproof bags or anything, you have a plastic baggie. Throw your phones in a plastic baggie. Throw your electronics in there. It's fine. You're on the beach and you want to pick up those shiny shells? Throw them in a plastic baggie. You're out on a nature walk and you find some cool feathers or something, you want to put them in a plastic baggie. Plastic baggies will save you so much hassle, and they literally fold up into like little space. You can shove them in pockets anywhere you need.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I have some of those as well, and I also have the how to say. I would have mentally prepared myself to lose everything that I carry. So it's like, okay, I have my big backpack there, and I have my small one there, and then I have the little bag here, and I have this strapped to my leg, and I have this strapped here. All right, so if the shit hits the fan, I'm gonna drop this and I'm gonna run, or if I can, if not, okay, somebody come and take this from me, okay, I'll drop that. So at least I would have thought of, I could lose this, okay, move, and I could lose that, and if they're really good, they're gonna find that and this and that, okay. So I would have mentally gone through the process of things that can happen, so that if they happen, it's not, I'm not gonna start thinking there and then, oh, what am I gonna do, and I might act wrong, or I might be feeling too attached to something that I could just give away and be okay myself. And yeah, so that would be part of my preparation as well. And I see we also had a few comments actually. We have actually greetings from Istanbul. Wow, greetings back to Turkey, like all over the globe here. We have Sofa King Sweet, who is saying his travel essentials, or her travel essentials are, no, it must be his, right, a king. His travel essentials are peroxide rubbing alcohol, 18 in 1 Bronus diluted sprays, lots of napkins, folded up napkins for sniffles, teasers, army knife, and that's just the start. And he also adds that he carries an organic moisturizer all the while, and that makes his skin feel residue and talc-free powder. And he says hello to everyone. And he says it's an interesting discussion and always good to join. Yes, greetings back to the Sofa King.
Oh, yeah, thanks a lot. Those are some good points. I would also say you might want to just throw out
That's what happens when we are seen and valued for our legitimate talents and abilities. Of course, many ancient kings.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, go ahead,
the technology, it just does its own thing. What the hell? No, I was going to say you should always like bring in like a couple food bars, put them in your pocket or your carry-on, because like with a lot of the stuff that even when you're driving, or just having a little extra food sometimes when things get a little stressful, it's an easy way to calm your nerves. And then also, like, if you're in a stressful situation, sometimes you forget to eat because maybe like during the lunchtime you're traveling or something like that, and then you've got some anxious thing to do just prior to dinner, and then you end up skipping dinner. To have something that just gives you a little bit of an energy boost can certainly be really helpful to kind of get your brain working, because if you haven't ate and your blood sugar is low, a lot of times you don't think straight, and then that's when you leave your keys like on the desk or something like that, and then you're in trouble. And so certainly having a little bit of snack food, and hopefully healthy snack food, because like in a lot of cases when you go to the airport, all the food that they give you is usually not good for you. And so I usually take just like and of course this is talking about me in the past, because I don't do this shit anymore, but but I would usually take a few like natural snack bars or health food bars or something like that, that if I couldn't find something I really like to eat, I wasn't going to pay like $20 to get some crappy hamburger or something that is going to make me feel bad.
Yeah, that's true. I agree. Like, I would never go for any airport food and that stuff. And grandma taught me early to, and she set me up numerous times with cookies with bags of stuff that would double double the weight of my carry-on. Basically, just giving me food like for the trip, which would last me for days after as well. And yeah, so that's part of the preparation as well, to foresee that, okay, you're gonna have low quality food ahead, so let's prepare for that. Or we do a fasting, a little fast, 24 hours fast, not a problem. Or you combine, or you have a smoothie or juice, or you just like you said, you set up yourself with some proper food for your belly, but for your brain as well, like the right book, and for your emotions as well. Oh, the essential here, humor. Don't leave your humor behind, because boy, even if things get tough and rough, but you have the ability to laugh about it, or to run a joke at the right moment, that might that might get you through customs, or that might get you but
Nice one. Yeah, that's a good one.
And last but not least, don't forget your cannabis. If you smoke, don't do it.
Are you
I
telling
still
people
don't
to
know
bring
about
that
that one.
to bring that to the airport?
It depends on how you're traveling. I went by car. I would not advise bringing it to the airport. I just said, if you smoke and you have a way to bring it or to get it, don't forget it.
Yeah.
Now that you
All
added
right,
some
well,
specificity to it, it makes all sense.
Well, we appreciate everybody taking the time to listen and possibly learn something, and certainly give us your attention. We appreciate all that. We certainly appreciate all the comments and those that are listening, their attention. But we're out of time, so we'll conclude. Does anybody want to throw any last thoughts about what we talked about, or anything that we probably should mention?
I throw in a last essential, which is gratefulness and appreciation for life. Bring that along as well. That and humor and joy, that will go a long way. And it's going to be difficult to take that away if you know how to hold on to it. And it's never a wrong time to be grateful for what you have, and for the fact that you're able to travel, to be on this great trip of life.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Curiosity is also another one that can go a long way, especially when you're in a new place. Being curious, that certainly usually catches people's attention, and usually gives them that introduction and the potential to help or give you some good advice. And so curiosity is certainly one of those as well. But with that said, that's the end of the show. Catch us again on Wednesday. We're going to be here at 5:35 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to be talking about, what are we going to be talking about?
Who owns your thoughts? I think is the Wednesday show.
Who owns your thoughts? Yeah, who owns your thoughts? Delve into what's going on inside your head. So that'll probably fit into the travel thing too.
Yes, that will connect smoothly.
All right.
Nice.
So I guess it's time for you to play the outro.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone from Istanbul to the sofas of the world. Thank you for joining our living room experience, and looking forward to reading your comments again and to getting your feedback. And now, bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you.